Hey, what's up? Welcome back. In this video, we're going to be talking about how to grow your church fast like Rick Warren, part 2. Hey, what's up? If we're meeting for the first time, my name is Chris Abbott, and I've helped thousands of churches attract thousands of new visitors and grow their church. But in this video, we're going to be specifically looking at a timeless principle that I learned from Rick Warren and how we can use those to actually apply to our church growth. So this is part 2 of a 2-part series, and in part 1, I told a story about Rick Warren speaking at a conference, and he literally said, it takes God 6 years to grow a mushroom, but it takes him 60 years to grow an oak tree. Now, mushrooms are here today and gone tomorrow, but oak trees last forever. So do you want your church to be a mushroom or an oak tree? And so the principles that we're going to be talking about in this video are specifically about those timeless principles, right? So we're talking about mushroom tactics versus oak tree strategy, the temporary tactics versus timeless oak tree principles. Okay, so let's dive in. All right, so number 1, if you're serious about changing your city, you'll find a way. If you're not, you'll find an excuse. So no matter where your church is located or who you're pastoring, it doesn't matter if you're on the East Coast, the West Coast, the Pacific Northwest, the South, the Bible Belt, the Midwest, it doesn't matter. Everywhere that you go, there's going to be unique obstacles to ministry. But if you're seriously committed to changing your city, then you'll find a way to do it. It doesn't matter if you have limited resources or limited time or limited money, right? Craig Rochelle says that limited resources are a breeding ground for innovation. So if you're serious about changing your city, you'll find a way. But if you're not, you'll find an excuse, right? So we can't let anything stand in the way of us changing the world, of us reaching our city for Jesus. Luke 14:23 says to go out to the highways and hedges and compel people to come in that my house may be full. So we have to use every single tool at our disposal to compel people to come into the house. So whether it's social media, whether it's digital, whether it's live stream, or whether it's a brand new platform that we can use to reach people for Jesus, we have to remember that a lack of resources is a breeding ground for innovation. If you're serious about changing your city, you'll find a way. If you're not, you'll find an excuse. And number 2, if you want to take the island, you have to burn the boats. You may have heard about this story in history. This comes from Cortez, who famously burned his boats when they landed on the shores of Mexico to take on the Aztecs, right? And this was a message both to his soldiers, hey, there is no retreat, there is no going back, but it was also a message to his enemy that, hey, we're here to stay, we burn the boats, there is no retreat, there is no going back, right? So if you want to take the island, you have to burn the boats. So what is it that you're holding on to, maybe in your past or as a security blanket or in your mind, that you always see as a retreat option, right? If you want to take the island, you have to burn the boats. You have to go all in on your mission and your vision, and you have to cut off every single avenue of retreat. Pastor Bill Scheer says that commitment is walking into a room with no exits. So if you want to take the island, you have to burn the boats. All right, and number 3, when you try to reach everybody, you actually reach nobody. Now, this is really common for most churches to say, hey, we want to reach everybody, right? And obviously, we want to reach every single person for Christ, right? And being in ministry, we know that every single person is a gift from the Holy Spirit. And so we want to take care of every single person that's brought into our path. But it doesn't mean that we can reach everybody. We are all perfectly equipped and uniquely gifted to reach different types of people. And so one of the things that can help you be more effective in your church is to go all in on the people that you're able to reach. When you say that your church has something for everybody, what people actually hear is that they don't have anything for me, right? So instead, if you're trying to reach young families, then start talking about all of the different opportunities that you have for young families to get plugged in, the incredible kids ministry that you have, right? Don't just say we have something for everybody, but talk about specifically the demographic that you're trying to reach. Now, this doesn't mean that you only have to have one. You can have multiple hooks. In fact, different types of bait is going to attract different types of fish. So for example, we work with churches around the country and we help them develop ministry-based campaigns using social media and technology to bring new visitors in the door every single Sunday. But we don't just have one type of campaign, right? So our whole thing is that this isn't marketing, this is ministry. So we go all in on different types of ministry hooks. So one of them is a prayer campaign where we ask people how we can pray for them. Another one is a Discover Your Purpose quiz where people can actually take a quiz to help find their calling and discover their purpose on Facebook. We also have a 21-day marriage challenge. We have another campaign targeting parents and young families. Another one, entrepreneurs and local business owners. And then we even have a 30-day Bible challenge that brings people in that are looking to kind of up their game and maybe dive into the Word for 30 days. Each of those are different hooks, and it's different types of bait to attract different types of people. So you need to do the same thing in your church, but when you try to reach everyone, you actually reach no one. All right, so if you're liking this video and you appreciate this type of content, we take these types of ministry-based strategies and apply them to what's working now marketing strategies, and we drop new videos all the time. So make sure to hit that subscribe button so you get notified every single time we drop a new video. Number 4, fear of failure is overrated. So here's the deal. Life is risk. Anything that's worth doing has risk involved. All of life is risk, right? You either take a leap of faith or you take a leap of doubt, but everybody jumps. The riskiest thing of all in life and in ministry is to do nothing at all. So take a look at the parable of the talents. So 2 of the servants actually took the master's money and invested it into the marketplace, right? That's a risky thing to do. They could have lost all of the master's money. Imagine how embarrassed they would have been if they had to come back to the master and say, "Master, I'm so sorry. I took your money. I invested it into the marketplace and I lost everything," right? That was a huge risk for them. But look at what happened, right? Where there's huge risk, there's huge reward, right? And so he who is faithful with little will be faithful with much. And so they were rewarded because they were faithful with the little they had. So the master put them as rulers over much. The only person in the story who got reprimanded was the one who did nothing. The one who actually buried his master's money because he was too scared to take the risk and invest it into the marketplace. The real risk isn't trying something that might fail. The real risk is in doing nothing at all. All right, and finally, number 5, I know this video is about how to grow your church fast like Rick Warren and mushroom tactics versus oak tree strategies, but I learned this last one from Stephen Furtick and I love it. He says that God is preparing you for what he has planned for you. Now, I love this because it means that every single thing that you've gone through in your life, all of the pain, right, all of the heartache, all the things you've had to push through, all the things you've had to overcome, nothing is wasted. Every single thing has been God preparing you for what he has planned for you. So you're either walking in part of it right now or you're about to. Right? Because at some point we begin walking in the harvest of the seeds we've been planting because God is preparing you for what he has planned for you. So if you had problems in your marriage, that's just setting you up to be able to help thousands or maybe even millions of marriages in the future. If you had problems with maybe addiction or drugs or alcohol in the past, man, now God can use you to minister to people that have wrestled with addictions, right? So whatever it is that you've gone through in your life, you're now perfectly positioned to be able to help people overcome the same thing you did. Nothing is wasted. Everything in life and ministry is just tuition. We are paying for our education, but never forget that God is preparing you for what he has planned for you. So when I was in high school, I had a pretty rough time. I didn't struggle with making friends or anything like that. In fact, the biggest part for me was that I gave my life to Jesus when I was 13 years old. And I constantly wrestled between having one hand in the world and one hand in the church. Right? So like all of my friends threw the best parties on the weekends, right? And it was so hard to live for God and also try to be popular. So all throughout high school, I constantly went back and forth between living a partying life and going out and going to parties on the weekends and drinking and dating girls that didn't love Jesus. And then I'd come back and say, no, I have to live for God. And so then I'd go back to being sober for months on end and being the sober driver. And then 3 weekends in a row, I'd go out and I'd party again. Then I'd come back to church and I'd repent on my face, crying before God and say, "God, I'm so sorry. I know there's a calling that you have on my life. I know I'm called to change the nations. I know I'm supposed to change the world. Forgive me," right? But then a couple weeks later, I'd find myself at a party again. Well, as painful as that was, and as hard as that was, all throughout high school, that perfectly positioned me to be able to go into youth ministry when I was in college. And I was in youth ministry for 15 years. I was able to help thousands and thousands of kids. And specifically, I was able to help a lot of those athletes who struggled with that party scene the same way that I did. So everything that I'd gone through, nothing was wasted. God used what I struggled with in order to be able to use that as a platform to reach more kids. And I was infinitely more effective at youth ministry and at helping a bunch of teenagers because of the stuff that I'd been through. All right, so if you like this video and you want to learn more about leadership and ministry, click on the link in the description below and check out my video, How to Be an Effective Leader in the Church. We'll see you soon.